Hello and welcome to the Gorgeous Goddess YouTube channel. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we are talking about being driven. Why am I so driven? Why are you so driven? Why are you such a perfectionist? Why can't you just let things go? Let things be not perfect? Why do you feel like there's certain things that you have to achieve? Is there a certain image that you have to maintain? Why does it feel like you would rather die than make this mistake? Or why does it feel like you'd rather die than let go of this way of doing something, or having this letting go of, this image that you're maintaining? And for you, it actually might not be what people call perfectionism, like, needing to get things right, needing to have things beautiful. Maybe, why do you need to be such a bad boy? Or why do you need to be so cool? Why do you need to not look like you're attached to anything or care about anything? Because this is all the same thing, right? These are all different drives that just, it's like we're on the track and the train is only going one way and there's no getting off. And nothing is stopping this train. Why? Okay. So I want to give you an analogy. And this analogy I call the pit and the rope. Okay. And it is based on this very universal experience of what happens to us when we embody, whether it's our first embodiment or a subsequent embodiment. At some point we are here, we come here as a spiritual being, we embody, and that we do have an experience of having our sense of self-worth taken away from us, having our sense of self-worth questioned, or having some sort of standard imposed on us that we need to meet this standard in order to qualify for self-worth. You can just have a look around society, right? You could, everywhere, your self-worth is being eroded, right? If you look in a glossy magazine and you see these people photoshopped to their eyeballs, right? And what is that image telling you? What it's telling you is that your body as it is, it's not good enough. It's not worthy, right? Or everything that is trying to sell you something is using some image, and it's communicating to you, hey, if you want to have self-worth, this is what you need to do. It's everywhere around you. It's a very common parenting technique, isn't it? Disapproval. If the child is not doing what you want them to do, you disapprove of them. And what does that disapproval do? It communicates to them that the adult is disapproving of you. There is something wrong with you. There is something wrong with what you're expressing. You are not okay, right? So your self-worth invariably gets taken away from you. And what I like to imagine that it's like you go into this pit of unworthiness, right? This pit of no self-worth or whatever. It might not feel like unworthiness to you. This pit of being not good enough, anguish, right? And then society does something else. Or maybe it was your parents, right? Or some other, maybe it was the media. They give you this rope, right? They say you are not worthy, but here's a rope, right? If you maintain this image, if you succeed at school or succeed in your job or get this career, hey, then you are worthy. So it's like this rope is given to you and you climb up this rope and you're holding on, right? And this is why you're driven. Because this thing that you're driven towards is your salvation from this sense of being not good enough and being unworthy. Now, you might have never even felt this sense of unworthiness because you've been working so hard at this rope your whole life. You may not even remember that sense of being not good enough when you created this. And if you created this in like another lifetime, you definitely don't remember it, right? Your whole life, you've been holding on to this rope. Sometimes you've slid down, like when you've had setbacks, you don't get a good mark on the test. And if this is a rope of being intelligent, and you don't get a good result on the test, it feels like you're sliding down the rope. It doesn't feel good. So then you have to work back up. You may have numerous ropes, right? You may have, here's the rope of being smart. That was mine. Here's the rope of, I don't know, maybe you need to be nice, right? Maybe it's the rope of being nice, right? Let's hold on to this one. Being agreeable to everyone likes you, right? Maybe the thing that is your pit is being disliked, and now you need to be nice. And if you hold on to that and you're so driven to be nice, it's a real big fear, right? So I hope that makes sense. But what do you do about this, right? If you want to have freedom, right, what can you do? Okay, so and this might seem really scary, if you want to have freedom and not feel like you're on a train, and you want to be able to, sometimes do something else, because let's take us back a step. Why might you want to not be limited to these ropes? Okay, because really, if you want to create your own life, and if you want to really have a limitless life, you need to not be limited in any situation to these 3 ropes that you're holding on to, right? Because if you have the rope of being nice and being intelligent, right? Now maybe, what if you want to start your own company in an area that's nobody has ever done anything in before? Now, if you have to hold on to sounding really smart and being really nice, let's say you're holding on to being really smart and sounding smart, are you going to be able to sound smart in an area which is the unknown, where really you don't know what's going on, and really you're just starting out? You might not. So you might just shut off that possibility. And maybe you're starting this company, and really you need to have some really straight conversations that aren't really nice. Maybe in the negotiations with your business partners, you really need to have courage and and really say things that they don't want to hear, But if you're holding on to the rope of niceness, you can't do that, right? Or maybe there's something is not working in your life. You really need to set a boundary. And if you're holding on to this rope of being liked and being nice, you can't have that conversation, right? And unfortunately, the flip side is when you do finally, a person holding on to being nice, unfortunately, when they do have that finally break and have that conversation, the only thing that dislodges your little hands from this rope is like real anger and rage. So the unfortunate thing about this situation is you're holding on to being nice, you're holding on, you don't have the conversation, you don't have the conversation. The only thing that dislodges your hands from this is the situation gets so unbearable that you're in rage, and then you might have that conversation in a fit of rage, right? But really, it's not ideal, Or if you're holding on to the situation of the rope of, having to be cool and having to not have any emotional attachment to anything, Mr. Cool, Miss, I don't care about anything, right? Because maybe you expressed your passion and you got really torn down, and that became your pit, your passion, expressing your passion was just something that you got shamed for. So now you're holding on to this rope of detachment. But how does that go for you when you meet the person that you love and it's time to actually tell them that you love them, right? How does that go when you're holding on to the rope of detachment? It doesn't, right? So what do? So what you need to do, or one thing you can do to let go of the things that are driving you, is you actually need to go and explore the pit, right? Okay, the ropes, the things that it seems like is your salvation, they're the things that actually, that's like your prison cell. They're the things that are keeping you bound, even though you're holding on to it, right, for dear life. That's the thing that's actually enslaving you and I don't know, tying you up, right? Because if you actually took a walk around that pit and you felt it, look, it might feel really awful for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a couple of days. That pit's not going to feel very good, but if you actually didn't resist that pit and explored it, you will very soon, and you actually allowed that experience of what that pit is, you will eventually see through and see that this pit it's not real. Okay? You're not unworthy. You're not, expressing your passion wasn't uncool. Like, that's the nonsense, right? When you actually face the thing that you're afraid of, and you feel with it, you be it, you actually become friends with it, and you go, let me actually, instead of spending my whole life trying to run away from this feeling, let me allow this feeling in. Let that feeling take over your being for a while. And the funny thing is that when you actually allow yourself to experience it, that bringing that consciousness to it, eventually it just dissolves and disappears, right? It doesn't feel good for a little while, but after a while, you just stop believing it. Now, why is it? Why is it that why is it that we're so scared of walking around in this pit that's not even real, that's based on lies that people have told us and lies that society has fed us? Well, we're taught this model of dealing with our unpleasant of emotions, right? Because when you're a child, what happened when you cried, right? What happened when you had an unpleasant emotion? Now, did your parents just kind of go, all right, well, just feel that emotion. It's okay. That emotion's not thing that's causing that emotion is just an illusion. Don't worry, it will go away. It's okay to experience this. It feels bad now, but don't worry, you'll feel it and then it will go away. No, they tried to stop it, right? So you never really, like most children growing up, they're not given that an opportunity to experience what happens to a negative emotion when you just allow it to express itself, and you don't ever get to that end where it just disappeared and you're like, oh, pit's gone, right? So what happens is, if we're crying and we're a kid, we're given something to eat, or we're distracted, or there's all these ways in which we are taught that, hey, this emotion needs to stop right now, right? So if we ever slide down towards the pit, what clicks in is, oh my God, this doesn't feel good and needs to stop right now. I need to climb up higher on this rope, right? And there's a really interesting, with all this stuff on children, there's a really interesting parenting school of thought that really introduced me to some of these ideas about how we are as children taught that we cannot bear to experience these negative emotions. It's called Aware Parenting by a lady called Aletha Solter, who started one branch of this. So check it out if you've got children. It's really amazing stuff. But for the purpose of this video, we don't need to go into that any further. But what do you think? Are you brave enough to walk around in the pit? Let me know in the comments below.